Hello Waffle Maniacs and welcome back to the Waffle Shed. The most romantic month of the year was a very busy one for us, with Mini Hicksy and I heading up to Manchester for the love of wrestling, but now we are back to spread more love of wrestling to you guys as we bring you all the updates and action from United Wrestling's opening show of the year. They say you never forget your first love. Just in case you have or couldn't make it on the day, sit back and allow us to remind or regale you in the usual waffling way. Let's go! What a start to the year. 2026 arrived with a bang and unveiled the massive changes that are afoot within United Wrestling. As teased at the end of 2025, United is now divided, in some ways more obviously than others. Two new GMs had been announced, and in a shock to no one but me it seems, they were revealed to be the Plunder Taker Arthur Scarrow and the voice of United Wrestling and Global Grappling, TJ Lee. Not Gordon the Gopher and Ed the Duck as I'd predicted, but whilst they'll still be sharing commentary duties, they won't be running things together. Each will be taking charge of a different location for United, and each has recruited an exclusive roster for their respective venues. To a joyous and rum-addled ovation from the double-barreled crew, it was announced that the hero of the high seas would be solo steering the Reading ship going forward, whilst Tej will be helming the Oxford roster over at the Tap Social. All seems well at the moment, but there's no doubt a friendly rivalry between the two, which is in marked contrast to another division that is currently running through the heart of United. Our captain Arthur Scarrow took to the ring to welcome all, but was quick to make it clear that being GM had not been his initial intention. Going into the festive period at the end of 2025, wrestling was very much back on the cards for him, but then a moment of familial fracture left his return in tatters, and all plans for a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year along with it. Instead of being bitter and turning his back on the site of his misfortune, Scarrow made it his mission to remove the poisonous influence of the World Championship from his brother by booking the bouts that can wrest the shiny sickness from the champion Chris Aries. And he's brought another crewmate aboard in hopes of redeeming the conqueror in the shape of Aries' sister from another mister, his tag team title winning partner and former two-time United World Champion Artemis. Stepping back into the ring, this time as First Love's guest ring announcer, the Crimson Killshot hardly had the opportunity to acknowledge the rapturous welcome she received when she was rudely interrupted by none other than Chris Aries himself. He's here, however badly dressed, to address the question, why Chris, why? And not why Chris, why have you stolen Ben Gedling's wearing sunglasses indoors gimmick, nor why Chris, why the suit, roll neck and sliders. No, why Chris, why did you turn on your brother? Well, it's quite simple as he sees it. In Scarrow's darkest hour, he was by his side. When Scarrow awoke from surgery, when he was recovering, he was there. But in his own moment of brotherly need, in those dark moments following decimation by Mark Haskins, our captain, his brother, was more concerned about Kai Payne's well-being than that of his true fallen brother. And in response to Tej's question of, was it worth it?
I run Reading, I run Oxford, I'll go wherever I want, thank you for coming to my show.
As he's made it clear, the world title gives him free rein, the holder of the belt being tied to neither Reading nor Oxford. Champion's advantage, some might say, but in truth it means it's still open season on whoever holds the big belt. A heavy start to proceedings, with talk of family feuds and poisonous titles. So let's not linger on that, not when we can talk about a cursed championship instead. The Futureproofed title, a prize with the power to access greatness that all too often leaves its former bearers beaten and broken. Vacant since Kai Payne's failed cash-in on Mark Haskins at Trouble Brewing, with its next victim, stroke holder, to be decided by a tournament held exclusively in Reading. 3 bouts took place at First Love to this end, with each winner progressing to the title match to be held in May at the Double Barrel Brewery at the aptly named Mayhem event. So let's take a look at who triumphed and whose title and tournament plans were left in tatters. There did seem to be a risk that the Futureproof tournament itself wouldn't get started, as the first entrant refused to shut up and let proceedings get underway. Still claiming to be the Prince of Peckham, at a time when being a prince only seems to get you in trouble, Tyler Walker, accompanied by Squire James Player, Chief of Shenanigans, grabbed the mic from Artemis and then would not stop talking. Claiming he'd win the tournament to commemorate great men such as Martin Luther King and Malcolm X is creditable, but we then had to sit through an abusive monologue directed at just about everyone in attendance. Thankfully, 2 bells being rung put paid to the earache-inducing episode. First the timekeeper's bell, and then Walker's, at the hands of his opponent and Reading favourite, Liam Jones. The Super Beast was relentless, no doubt further spurred on by the pre-match comments directed at him by Walker, and he booked his place in the Futureproof final in the same way that he'd started the bout, with a gargantuan clothesline. Now, am I glad that these 2 guys are on the Reading roster? Absolutely. The peak of evolution is back at Fortress Jones. After a brief bump in the road at Oxford last year, Jones seems destined to earn more plaudits and prizes in the ding. It should be noted that United boss Pete was very quiet as Jones dismantled Walker, perhaps hoping the inevitable shenanigans from Jimmy Player would be enough to thwart Liam on this occasion. There's still bad blood between these 2, and we'll be watching very closely throughout 2026 to see who blinks first. And Tyler Walker on the roster? Of course, we'll happily welcome him back. If you're not a fan of royalty, you can come to Reading every few months and see a prince get pummeled and embarrassed every time. 2 more young stars of the British wrestling scene contested the second bout of the tournament, as Denzel Mack, making his United Wrestling singles debut, went up against Violet Knight, fresh from her epic clash for the United World Wrestling Championship at the tail end of 2025. Mack, watched here by his black and gold teammate Lincoln Spector, who ghosted us when asked for comment, was less main event Mack, more disrespectful Denzel, as he complained about his opponent from the outset, refusing to acknowledge Knight's pedigree in the United ring and beyond. He took it as a personal slight that he was facing, in his opinion, someone not on his level. There's no doubt that Mack has a bright future. He's already held titles elsewhere across the south of the country, but without an attitude adjustment, it seems likely he'll be humbled more than hailed, just as he was here at First Love. Denzel's constant jibes seemed to supercharge Violet, who unleashed previously unseen levels of violence, as well as a potential new catchphrase.
Get up, you bastard!
Before going on to book her place at Mayhem, following a high-flying crossbody and a perfectly executed bridge for the pin. With Denzel signing up to the Reading roster, we'll no doubt be treated to the return of the Mac in the very near future, but First Love definitely proved to be Violet's night. The final contest had far more than just a place in the Futureproof finale on the line. We had Criss Angel's streak at stake too. I caught up with him and his opponent Dave Bavara before the bout. Backstage at the Double Barrel Brewery, back at United, back in Reading, back where the winning streak began.
Yes, I know. Got a big man tonight, Dave Bavara. Going to keep this streak going. 2026, Year of the Angel.
We saw the end of 2025 was the turning point for you.
Mr. Stripes is the way I see it. This is for the Futureproof, yeah? Who doesn't want to be Futureproof champion? I'm all in. Dave, you better be bringing it, man. Let's have it.
So we're booking your place in May at Mayhem for the final?
Oh, yes.
You're already in?
Already in. Gotta be there.
Congratulations. See you very soon.
Let's do this!
I'm joined backstage by the Maltese Mountain, Dave Bavara, who today is going to be facing Criss Angel in the Futureproof tournament. This time out, you're going up against a man who's on a winning streak. This is his year.
This is his year. This is his year. This is my year at United. This is the year that I take the Futureproof title. This is the year where I show everyone who comes to United just what being the Slam King means. Criss Angel, I'm sorry, darling. I'm sending you right back to heaven. Because when you're up against the Slam King, Dave Bavara, there is only one option. Death by Slam. See you out there.
I'm glad I'm not seeing him out there. So who was right? Well, actions often speak louder than words. So let's take a little look at some match highlights. So the streak is over and the Maltese Mountain has claimed his spot. Never mind, Chris, it's a lucky escape from a potential curse at the very least. So we have 3 finalists, but the lineup is not yet complete. It turns out the Futureproof finale is not just a ding thing. Oxford want in on the action as well. A 4th competitor is due to be added to the mix, potentially via a contest at the first Tap Social show of the year. Stay tuned for who the missing piece will put forward as the final piece in the Futureproof finale. Whilst we're on the subject of love, there's often the regret of the one that got away. But there are deeper regrets than that, and one of those may be felt by every new Reading roster member bar one in 2026. By signing on the scurvy line, each and every one of them has committed to the likelihood of sharing a ring in 2026 with the chiropractor's dream. The breaker of backs, the shatterer of spines, the biggest and the baddest in all of wrestledom, Nero Toxin. Toxin had a breakout year in 2025, and last time out in Reading grounded everyone's least favourite, not a pilot, Tony Kyle, putting a full stop on his year to forget, and likely convincing him that his united destiny lie on another path, or at least in a different postcode or time zone, more of which later. To kickstart 2026, Nero faced off against another opponent whose last sortie at United was also against TK, the shooting star Levi Cooper. Fans have been clamouring for his singles return since that incredible bout at the Smoking Barrels event in Reading, highlights of which are viewable on the Wrestling Outsider YouTube channel. But the clamouring fans were to be sadly disappointed. Not by the quality of the match, but by the new mindset that has taken hold of Cooper and the massive descent in dress sense that has overcome him. Now more Premier Diva than Premier Diver, the fans immediately turned on Levi, understandably, and called on Toxin to do her worst. Something that she really needs no encouragement to do. To be fair, the Premier Diva gave it a good go and seemed to have scored a surprise victory, albeit by bending the rules, with his feet on the ropes at the blind side of Lilith, assisting in a 3 count. But this is a new era at United. No convenient distractions or only occasional uses of VAR in 2026. We now have attentive GMs, with their eyes on the action at all times. Seems New Year's resolution number 1, no bad mouthing of GMs, is going to be easily fulfilled. Although number 2, stop constantly harping on about justice for Nina, may take a little more effort. Tej, Scarrow, any chance of righting that wrong? No sooner had Lilith called for the bell than our captain Arthur Scarrow called shenanigans and demanded the match be restarted.
I want to restart this match. Yeah? Let's go!
And with Toxin already enraged, it was only going to go one way. Whilst not spineless in taking on the backbreaker, Cooper found out the hard way that unless you're very lucky, that's how you end up. What next for Cooper? Well, it can't get any worse, right? Not unless Toxin asks for a rematch at Mayhem, of course. But surely the biggest and baddest has her eyes set on revenge. Revenge on someone not the biggest, but certainly in the running to be the baddest. Officially top of Santa's naughty list last year. Someone who attempted to break the back of the backbreaker, Miss Ollie Jackson. But as we'll find out later, such revenge may not be as easily had for Toxin as she had hoped. The Double Barrel Brewery has seen some gritty and gruesome performances in its day, with many spilling out of the ring. Longtime fans from the Ding will remember Bullet battering Josh Spicer from pillar to ring post, from bar to mat, with a similar story being the case in both clashes between Chris Aries and Harrison Bennett at the venue. But few matches have had the crowd as engaged and enraged as the tag title match between Reading's adopted sons and tag champs the Robros, who last time out bested world-class opponents in the shape of close personal friends, and the self-professed foundation of United Wrestling, Rex Armstrong and Harry Sefton, who were last seen putting paid to Tom Anstey. So they're not all bad. The Foundation had promised to spoil the party and break the fans' favourite toys, and they made good on that promise. Interrupting the Bros' Reading rowing regatta, Armstrong and Sefton didn't even wait for the opening bell, battering the belt holders across the benches and riling the crowd into a fervour, with some in attendance not being able to hold back. Good reflexes, Harry. When finally back in the ring, it was more of the same, with Cam in particular being targeted to put paid to the Rose high-flying exploits. And with a hint of what we can expect to see in the future, Armstrong used dastardly means to get the job done, dropping Zach onto Ref Katie to break up a pin and stun the official. It should be noted that Ref Katie and the other official on the night, Lilith, are made of stern stuff. Katie shook this off in much the same way that a stiff riot from MJ Grayson was brushed aside last year. In fact, only a straight kick from Chris Aries has been able to keep her down for any length of time since she made her debut at United. And I have to add a special shout out here to United's top zebra and leader of the Justice League, Josh Wallace. He's currently having to step away from officiating whilst he deals with a shoulder injury. Best wishes for a swift return to the ring, sir. United will be in safe hands until your return. But back to the match itself, with Zach next thrown into the crowd and then the comms desk by Rex. Sefton put the ailing and injured Cam to the sword and claimed victory and the tag titles for the Foundation. A shocked silence was soon followed by a barrage of abuse from the double-barreled faithful, displeased with the result and their new champions. Having jeered the Foundation until their exit, the crowd then showed their love for the now former champs, cutting disconsolate figures in the ring. There will be a hope that this isn't the last we will see of the Rose at United. Their 196-day reign as tag champs being a welcome tonic to the torrid tag reign of the previous title holders, the Killers. But what of the new champs? I had the pleasure of being joined by them backstage moments after their victory.
I won't film it. Come here. Hey Rex, come here.
Right, is the camera
Distract you from drinking. Rex, here we come.
Is the camera on?
It's fucking pissing me off.
I'll check the cameras on.
Yeah, please.
Should we both check this on?
Should we check?
Yeah.
Have a look, Harry.
Good.
Right.
Good. Professionalism. I love it.
Go on then.
Right, I'm delighted to be joined backstage at the Double Barrel Brewery at United First Love by the new United World Tag Team Champions, Rex Armstrong and Harry Sefton, the Foundation.
Do you know what I said out there? I said, in what world do they beat us? And in what world do we get interviewed by you? Absolutely.
Just buy a ticket next time.
Well, that went well. Whatever your opinion, it seems we'll be seeing much more of the Foundation. With the belts not tied to a roster, they'll be turning up at both Oxford and Reading for as long as they hold the gold, floating between venues. Heh, floaters. Speaking of which, the main event of First Love was between two top-tier grapplers who are no strangers to each other, but found themselves facing off across the United ring for the first time. One, a much-loved man of culture, the other, a now loathed individual presiding over a one-man cult of Manure. The challenger, crowd favourite Tig, versus the United Wrestling World Champion, a man now seemingly beyond redemption.
Chris Arse.
What? She said it. Whilst Tig received a massive ovation and embraced the fans upon his entrance, the champion cut an aloof figure, entirely disengaged from any interaction besides his own self-congratulation. And that contempt spread into the match too. An early slap to Tig was indicative of the treatment to come, as Aries stalked his prey without spectacle, looking to snap and break his opponent instead of besting him with his usual energy. But Tig just kept bouncing back, absorbing each blow like it was a new cultural experience. Using the universal language of the dual middle fingers, he then went fully continental, delivering German suplexes, a Croatian crossbody, followed by a Spanish suplex and a big Belgian knee to so nearly make a spectacular start to his second year at United. The ropes came to Aries' aid on that occasion, and it was the superior ring awareness of the champ that was to be his greatest ally in the end. With both GMs and Ref Katie unsighted, Aries gouged Tig's eyes and swung the advantage back in his direction. With compromised vision, the man of culture was unable to evade a conqueror's kick and then fell prey to a reverse STO and the 1-2-3. This new era of Aries is not easy on the eye. Not spectacular, not crowd pleasing. It seems he's happy to do just enough to mark another notch in the win column. Tej has dubbed Aries the Mad King, and it seems he's tried to perfect a new royal way to go with his title. I think Ref Katie's response pretty much says it all about how far we have fallen out of love with the Legion King, exhibiting behaviour not befitting the figurehead of United Wrestling. What a sour way that would have been to end the night on, but only at United Wrestling is the phrase "gone to the dogs" met with a massive cheer. Before Aries could skulk backstage, the absolute and bantamweight champion Scotty Rourke made his entrance with one purpose.
I'm not here to fight you tonight, my friend. I'm here to call out the BS I hear from back there.
The Dog's Bollocks then stated he didn't recognise the man in front of him. It's not the man who he fought and bested for the World Tag Team titles, nor the man that fought beside him in this very ring. He sees only a man who he will happily strip of a title that is now being dragged through the dirt. Any time, any place, says Scotty. But will Aries have the testicular fortitude to accept Rourke's challenge? Such a contest could see United's first triple title holder crowned, in a match that few could deny would be the biggest in United Wrestling's history. And with Scotty's momentum following his perfect year in 2025, as detailed in a recent episode of Waffling On, might we see Aries parted from his precious title sooner rather than later?
Ding, 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 it's time for Waffle Stats. Ding, 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 it's time for Waffle Stats. Ding, 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 ding. It's time for Waffle Stats.
Welcome to a new section of the show where we dig deep into the data, crunch the bone-crunching numbers, bring you insightful insights, and leave you with the chronic earworm that is the Waffle Stats theme. Over the course of the year, using complex algorithms, huge data lakes, and numerous backs of envelopes, we'll collate the results and work out who will stand tallest statistically as the best wrestler on the riotous Reading roster, or, as I prefer, as 2026 Queen or King of the Ding. Before we take a look at the current standings, however, what other stats stand out following the first Love show? Chris Aries still stands impressively atop the all-time United Wrestling standings, with 28 victories and only 6 defeats. A stat that from here looks pretty much unbreakable. In winning the tag team titles, Harry Sefton becomes only the 4th wrestler to win gold in both singles and the tag division at United, following in the footsteps of Artemis, Chris Aries and Scotty Rourke. Heady company indeed. Liam Jones will head into Mayhem undefeated at the Double Barrel Brewery, a streak stretching back over 2 years. Can he add a lucky 7th to those 6 victories and make himself future-proof? And when Mayhem does roll around, Violet Knight will also be challenging for the future-proof title, a staggering 1,176 days since her first attempt led to a narrow defeat to Handsome Jack in the End Zone future-proof Rumble. What? Okay, I know I said she made her debut at United in 2025 last time out. I mean, I might have meant she made her debut at Double Barreled. Will you stop harping on about it? So judgy. Anyway, when the future-proof title is won in May, it will have been collectively vacant for 357 days since it was first introduced. That's 21 days more than the longest reign of anyone with the belt, being that of the first champ, Oyu Aluna. There's a special Wrestling Outside of Future-Proof episode coming very soon where we'll look back at the history of United's cursed title. Be sure to check that one out. But what about the actual stand-ins, I hear you ask? It's early days, and the top of the table shows, based on victories and efficiency coefficients, the dominator of the Ding, the super beast Liam Jones, sitting top of the tree, giving second place Nero Toxin a run for her title of biggest and baddest. Fellow future-proof finalists Dave Bavara and Violet Knight hold the 3rd and 4th spots respectively, and the top of the list is rounded out by the holders of the gold. Tag team champions the Foundation in 5th and 6th spot, with Rex placing higher on account of the fact that he's less annoying than Harry, a situation subject to change of course, and the United Wrestling World Champion floats just below them in 7th. A strange place for Mr. Christopher Nigel Aries to be found, but don't worry Chris, you've been shortlisted for the First Love Waffle Stats Special Award, February's worst dressed. But again, Mr. CNA comes up short, only placing 3rd, with his roll neck, suit and sliders combo. 2nd spot goes goes to the furry fiasco that is the Prince of Peckham Tyler Walker's entrance attire. They tried their worst, but there was just no topping it on this occasion. The Waffle Stats Award for February goes to the premier diva, Levi Cooper. It's not clear whether he's mugged a Muppet or skinned the Pink Panther, but this putrid puce monstrosity has the former shooting star making us wish we all still lived in the days of black and white. So that was your United Wrestling First Love Roundup. Now, let's look ahead to United Wrestling's Held Together by Tate and see what New Oxford GM has in store for us at the Tap Social on Sunday. The big news ahead of the event was the announcement of the Taproom Trials. With free reign to recruit, Tej has scoured the Brit Rest scene and handpicked 5 of the most exciting up-and-coming talents to battle it out over the course of 2026. This round-robin tournament will pit Armina Lilly, Abigail, Alexander Lockhart, Robbie Taylor and Charlie James against one another in a series of 10-minute matches, with points awarded to those who avoid defeat within the time limit, 3 for a win and 1 for a draw. They're all new names to United, but each of them is already making waves across the country, and I'm sure they'll make a massive impression on the Oxford crowd. The first tournament bouts will see Abigail face off against Alexander Lockhart, whilst Robbie Taylor will take on Armina Lilly. Who will take their first points and an early lead in the standings? Make sure you're at ringside to find out. Elsewhere on the card we have a gargantuan bout with 3 of the biggest and baddest, besides Nero Toxin, going head to head in a United ring. Friend of the podcast Razor is no stranger to the King of Monsters Liam McCarthy, having bested him in the first round of the Super Heavyweight tournament at the Double Barrel Brewery, a contest that saw the sad demise of the waffle chair. Neither is it Razor's first rodeo with the demonic Damien, the two having contested a brutal bout at Monster Bash 2. Can the head of HR keep things in order and score another win in front of the Tap faithful? And will there be much left of the Tap after these 3 behemoths clash? It will need more than tape to hold the venue together if this one goes as I predict. It won't just be the fans watching on with interest, as the rescheduled bout between Abby Cartwright and Ollie Jackson hits the ring on Sunday, with these 2 ring dynamos looking to pick up where they left off last year. Nero Toxin, still intent on payback for the spine-shattering chair shots delivered by Miss Jackson, will also be paying close attention. But with Ollie and the Backbreakers separated by the roster split, it may be some time before that payback can be delivered. Will Cartwright be able to capitalise on the potentially distracted Jackson to take her debut win in the United ring? Whatever the result of this one, expect the author to add some hard-hitting chapters to her chronicle. In a massive coup, we will see the superior Samu St. Daniels make his United Wrestling debut in the Oxford ring. Anyone who's seen SSD in action will know what to expect, and anyone who hasn't is in for a treat. Immaculate ring craft and precision pugilism is guaranteed from both the debutant and his opponent. The top pick at United Wrestling, the top performer in the country, the Top Gun of professional wrestling, the absolute maverick. Oi, who's been messing with this auto cue? It's SSD versus Tony Kyle, and I predict the Absolute Maverick will have an absolute stinker of a start to 2026. And to top the lot, we have the Absolute and Phantomweight Championships on the line, as the Dog's Bollocks Scotty Rourke meets the cultured cat, Tig. Champ Rourke was so impressed with Tig's showing at Reading against Chris Aries that he's rewarded the man of culture with a golden opportunity. And who better than Tig to seize it? Jumping across from the Reading roster with the full blessing of Captain Arthur Scarrow, can the Uber Goober make history? Or will Scotty continue his perfect run and set a new record as the longest reigning Absolute Champion, and then perhaps exercise his Phantomweight stipulation clause to draw that dream clash with Chris Aries closer? After Reading stormed out the blocks, Oxford is up in its game. Grab a ticket while you still can. We'll be at ringside, make sure you are too. We'll also be back very soon to bring you all the lowdown of the high points of Held Together by Tate, as well as all the Waffle stats, of course. Until then, this has been the Waffle Shed. I've been Hicksy, and he's been generally disapproving. SITKWTWO.